Hello, family and friends. My name is Nathan, and I am video journaling my road to Busselton Ironman, which is in the first Sunday of December. It is week 9, and I've just completed speed week 1 and finished with an open water swim this morning on Sunday. So I have a set number of items I'm addressing, so I'm going to get into it. It was a moderate low week, which then crescendoed into a moderate high weekend. So I'll detail that more. So week 9, how am I feeling? Probably would have said 7 to 8, bearing in mind the weekend crescendo. So I'm going to say 8, mainly because of a good amount of rest was actually possible. And this afternoon I was able to do a recovery exercise prescribed by the coach, which had a lot of stretching in it. And yeah, it was very helpful. So that was good. My training distances for week 9: swim 10.5k, which is getting more like the sort of distances. My bike riding 320 kilometers. That includes commuting, and the run was 25. So probably around half of what you'd want to do sort of normally, but that's where we are. My weight up from 83 to 83.5 on average through the week. It was certainly under and over through the week. I've also recently included resting heart rate. Now, last week it was 45. This week gone up, and certainly due to that crescendo on the weekend, to 47. So I do expect it to settle through this week. That's where we're sitting, 47 on resting heart rate over 7 days through the week. Things learnt from the training. Got nothing in the column for that one this week. Injuries and niggles. Okay, so if you've been following me, you would remember that I have an Achilles tendonitis situation. Now, there's been days where I have been able to really get in lots of the stretching and strengthening. It's not one or the other, it both must be done. And it's certainly been improving. Now, I can tell that through the general feel through the day and the type of discomfort, and also how it feels in the morning and how quick in the morning it loosens up and stops to be like I'm saying, it's discomfort, it's not pain. So there was pains probably 4 weeks ago, but which still would have been only like a 3, maybe a 4, but definitely a 3 out of 10. At the moment, we're sitting at like 1 to 2, and it's probably closer to 1 out of 10. So that's discomfort, not pain. So definitely on the right track right now. And it's definitely not the time to take your foot off and take it easy. I would say after you think it's gone, I would say another 2 weeks. Continue just to hammer away at it before you can say, right, I've definitely gone past it. So I'm certainly managing at the moment, and as you can probably tell, the run volume is down. That's the most dangerous catabolic part of what we do. So the other thing, interestingly, on Friday morning, I had a run interval session, which I got some DOMs from. And I haven't had DOMs in quite a while, but I didn't know I had until yesterday, which was Saturday. And there was obviously the ride to do, and I have a little bit of it today. So it's on the way to better, which is good, and I've engaged ibuprofen. I've taken 2 doses, and I'll continue that tomorrow. Actually, weirdly enough, I have the same session tomorrow, and I'm going to try and force myself not to be lazy and go and do it on a grassed playing surface rather than on the road. I think that would be smartest, to force myself not to be lazy for speedy recovery. Okay, equipment and maintenance. Now, happy to report both of my spare glue-on tyres have been tested, and they have passed the tests, and I'm very happy. So they've gone into mounting onto the two bikes, onto the commuter and the race bike. So I'm very happy with that. I have my glue-on front tyre for my front wheel that I want to use. Obviously, at the moment, it has no tyre because I am picking a particular tyre for it, which will be a TUFO, TUFO. It's on order from Japan, so there's been what has been no reported movements on it. So because we're racing in 2 Sundays, I'm going to have to pull the trigger now and use a tube and tyre, which is fine. I'm happy with that. Certainly done plenty of that before. It just means I have to find a place for the glue-on tyre, which will be the rear wheel, and the front wheel, which will be a tube and tyre as mentioned. If it happens to arrive in the meantime, it'll be close, because not only do you need to glue it, but you also need to test it, that it can hold pressure, and of course ride it. So that doesn't leave much time. I would say 3 days. You could probably do it in 2, but 3 days would be more common sense, and a ride of at least an hour. So it's 2 weeks out. I'm going to pull the trigger, and I'm not worried if it's not there for the Sunshine Coast 70.3 race. I fitted the cleats that I got, the blue version, and I've been riding that this week. That's my commuter bike normally, so those are the shoes I have for those. They're road shoes, not cycling shoes. And I moved my extensions on the race bike towards me by 3 centimetres. Now that's quite a big move, and it has been said before, don't make such large type of adjustments, and I think it's mainly in the context of on your bike, because you can find that may not be the best idea, maybe incrementally. So I did that, and the advice seems sound. So I'm going to go back 1 centimetre away from me, and I have a feeling that should deal with that issue. And that was mainly the left trap that I mentioned on that last long ride. It was certainly the ride on Saturday, as I'll mention later, was 3.5 hours, and I'd say probably about 2.5 to 3 hours onwards was when that was coming back. And I have a feeling, anyway, I'm going to deal with it via moving the extensions forward 1 centimetre. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it could be all that's needed. And also, I have decided to pull the trigger on a bike fit, something that I've been debating very heavily. The last one, I'm going to guess, might have been 3 years ago. And while it's very expensive, I'm going to pull the trigger on it because I believe that this person has a very good reputation. They're local, and it's a long-term investment. So, achievements and failures. Now, it was back to the group ride, which I certainly ride to with a reasonable amount of trepidation, because it absolutely takes everything you've got to do that 1 hour ride, or 50 minutes, whatever it is. I got there and the announcement was made, there's no group 2, so it's actually a group 2 and 3 ride. So a little easier, still had to work, but so even though I did that well, not easily, but I did it well, it's not a proper achievement like I'd like. So I'm going to go this Tuesday, and if it is the combination group again, so be it, but hopefully it'll be a pure group 2 ride, which again will take everything. So looking forward to that. Now the week was designed, as I say, leading towards the Saturday ride. Now that run that I did was zone 2 to zone 4. So that was probably the main reason why there was some sting in the legs Saturday morning when I did the ride, because the bike ride was 3.5 hours. So it was zone 2, 30 minutes, zone 4, 30 minutes, repeat for 3.5 hours. So that's 4 lots of zone 2. So that's quite comfortable and quite achievable. But 3 zone 4 30-minute sections. Now they were quite difficult. And while I did the first one, I think not easily again, but it knocked me around a fair bit. And certainly on the third one, I don't think I handled that too well. I made it, but I don't think I hit the numbers as consistently in the first two. So Sunday was a 3K open water swim. So an event they hold here where you catch a ferry out and you swim back. The conditions were gorgeous, and 3K, while it's not 3.8, fantastic opportunity to get that mindset and to put some things into your mind for what's coming in December. And of course, for what's coming in 2 Sundays' time, which is a shorter distance, but probably in a more challenging environment than this particular swim today, because it was reasonably flat. There wasn't too much chop out there, but there is likely to be in 2 Sundays' time. Now, the difficulty also that I had, apart from being banged up a bit and stayed day 2 of DOMS from that interval run, is that I couldn't pre-stretch or do a pre-warm-up like I normally would in getting ready for a open water swim. Because in no situation would you get in and just swim 3K at your pool. So, unfortunately, while I was putting the suit on, the tag got stuck in my zip, so I couldn't zip up. So I actually ended up having to take it off, take a fair amount of minutes to get the tag out of the zip, and then of course we were okay again. So I lost a bit of time that I could have spent on stretching, and that's not only hamstrings, but of course the triceps and shoulders and everywhere else. But those are the main areas I like to look after. So to the first buoy, which probably would have been around 600 metres roughly, got that usual sort of little bit of anxiety where the suit gets against your throat and sends all sorts of not comforting feelings through your body. So I had to settle myself a couple of times, which went well. It didn't interrupt me too much. After that, it goes away, and we are just into the endurance mode. And I did 51 minutes, which I'm very happy with that, because I was 18th in the morning and 4th in my age group. So pretty happy with that. It's a very good practice, for Busselton. And if you do the maths, that probably puts me as quick as 1 hour and 5 to possibly 1 hour and 8, depending on other details. So that's all good news. The training week ahead, next week is Speed Week 2. Tuesday has the group ride, where, as mentioned, hoping that it's a pure Group 2 and not a mixed ride. Then there's a shorter trainer session in the evening, so I should be able to handle that well. My Saturday ride is 2.5 hours at 80%. So 80% effort, going to need to work out what power number that is and deal with that. So that should not knock me around as much as yesterday did, but there's no run off, so may have to question that. I love running off the bike, so I have to ask. And then Sunday is a pool swim, around 3K, so intervals. So we'll do that early Sunday before heading off to church. So we should handle next week well. There's nothing overly super scary in that. And then, of course, we lead into the taper week before the Sunshine Coast race. So everything is looking good for a good result. The conditions there are looking particularly good. But the Sunshine Coast has a habit of just kicking that temperature in the run, different to what the predicted temperatures are in the weather apps that I'll be watching reasonably closely, even though I really don't need to, because just prepare for the worst and take everything that's on the happier side. If you'd like to look at my Garmin training data, send me a request. If you've got any comments or questions, put it in the comments area. All the best, and stay safe training.